So, what does the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears have in common with reading levels? Stick around and you'll find out. Thanks again for joining me this week on my YouTube channel, Literacy in Elementary Schools, Improving How Students Read, Write, and Communicate. So let's go back to Goldilocks and the Three Bears. If you remember in that story, Goldilocks wanders into this home where the family has gone for a walk, and she sees 3 bowls of porridge on the table. She tries one, it's too hot. She tries another one, it's way too cold. And then she tries the third, and it is just right. Then she decides she wants to take a nap after all that eating, and she lays in one bed, it's way too hard, and then another, and it's super soft. And so she tries a third, and it is just right. Well, for decades, teachers have been taught in our bachelor's programs that we need to assess our students' reading levels, and that's a good thing. But we need to assess them so that we can find out our students' independent levels, their instructional levels, and their frustrational levels. And this information is quite handy, but what has been problematic is how we have used this information. For most teachers, and hopefully this is not true anymore, but a lot of teachers, what we've done is we've created our classroom libraries that are focused on our students' reading levels. And wherever our students test in terms of their just right or independent levels, we assign our kids to read from that specific bin with that letter or that number, whatever system you're using. So the purpose of this quick video is just to make a case for why you might want to reconsider or why you shouldn't level your kids' readings using letters and numbers. And my first reason was, for example, if you have a 6th grader, we'll call him Johnny, and he's reading maybe at a 3rd or 4th grade level, maybe a level N. You really don't want Johnny to be reading at a level N at the end of the school year. You want Johnny to be able to be fully functional in your classroom with your science text, your social studies text, whatever other subject areas that you're teaching. And so if during independent reading time, he is only going to look at level N, then that's not going to really help him. And so that's my number 1 reason. Number 2, you don't want Johnny to take on this reader identity as I'm a level N, I'm a few grade levels below. You want to facilitate a kind of confidence where Johnny believes that if he puts in the work and if he has the interest, he can read whatever level text that he wants. And so you don't want that stigma. And then a third thing that's kind of more where the onus is on the teacher is you want your students to be able to access whatever text, whether it's from a content area or it's just an interest area that's in your classroom. So instead of going to bin number 725 and 820, you might want, and those numbers are I just pulled them out of a hat, but you get the idea. Instead of a letter and a number, you want to teach your children or your students in a way that scaffolds them to be able to have authentic experiences with text. And by so doing, you want to include multimedia. You want to do vocabulary instruction. You might even want to reenact or create hands-on experiences where they can understand some of the context that are in the books, and whatever other resources you can pull together to help give your students access so you can scaffold them. And so those are just a few reasons why you might not want to have your students just have a letter or a number and that's where they're going to be reading, because that's not a definitive characteristic of who that student is. You want to help them. Now, I'm not saying that in a perfect world all students are going to be able to progress beyond a certain level, but you definitely don't want to enable a way of thinking of themselves as just where they test. And so test information is good. I'm not completely knocking doing assessments, but how you use that information instead of using it to level your students is what's important. You might want to consider having different groups by interest or by whatever instructional strategy that group needs to work on, and so on and so forth. But thanks for joining me again this week. I'll see you next time.